Hello, this is Michael Wojak with a City Council update for December 22nd, 2011. That is a Thursday and not normally a day that we meet with the City Council, but we actually had to do it to have a session to finalize the contract with Rochester City Lines and Dan Holter. Dan Holter mentioned in the newspaper the other day that he was entitled to make a profit. That's not the way that I see it. I think businesses earn profits, but what do I know? So basically what he did is, because we were essentially didn't have anyone else to go to, and he knew he was the only person negotiating for this contract, he basically said, oh yeah, in addition to all that other stuff that you're paying for us, we want a 3% across the board increase and a $180,000 profit. Well, we're giving our own staff about a 1% compensation increase for the upcoming year because we cut our budget quite a bit, and but the city lines, they'll be getting 3%. And in addition to that, the $180,000 was negotiated down to $140,000. So that's $140,000 of additional taxpayer dollars that will be taken from taxpayers and given to Dan Holter for the sake of doing what he's always done. I'm a little disappointed in staff that left us in the situation. They did not go out to negotiate with other people just in case Rochester City Lines fell through, and I think that was a organizational failure by the city of Rochester to do that, and I think it cost the taxpayers. Probably when you figure in the increases in rates as well, maybe well past $150,000, and as a result, I think we need to do a complete review of our transit operations and this process and figure out how we can improve it in the future. Universally at the meeting, there was a lot of contempt and disgust with Rochester City Lines for basically holding us hostage and saying, oh yeah, making us feel that the buses weren't going to run at the start of the year if this contract wasn't done and if we did not go along with the ransom demands. So the council did vote 4-2 to approve this contract. Myself and Bilderbeck strongly opposed. Mr. Holter claims he's never made a profit on this, and Mr. Bilderbeck correctly brought up, I think, that he lives in a pretty doggone nice house to have never made a profit on this stuff. So I think that that's the real issue here. Is this is just about greed. This is about essentially extortion. The extortion was a word that was thrown out to me before this meeting, and I used it a few times in this meeting, and I think that we got in a situation where we didn't have anyone else to turn to. He knew he had us, and he took advantage of us, and 4 council members did go along with that, and I can't blame them for going along with that. There probably would have been disruptions into service if we hadn't approved this contract. What I did ask staff to do, and by unanimous consent, the rest of the council entirely agreed with that, is that to whatever way that we can that's legally permissible, we want to factor in this experience with Rochester City Lines in future contract negotiations and determining qualified companies to operate our transit system. And the other thing I think that came out of the meeting too is we're all supportive of the drivers. They were being used as pawns in this thing. Clearly, I don't think the organization cared a whole lot about them. They were, our interpretation was that they were going to be threatened with not having their jobs around if we didn't get this contract done. So, they had the threat of these people who were innocent in the whole thing and do a great job. And part of the reason why I think Rochester City Lines has done a great job is their drivers are so good. We were very supportive of them. But going forward, I think we're going to have this is a 6-month contract, and we'll be doing bidding for a future contract in a competitive manner, and we'll be looking to. I think this experience, if nothing else, has motivated the city to go out and find as many possible bidders as possible, because we want to make sure that we have a more ethical company to stand behind us and operate our transit systems than perhaps we feel we've gotten with Rochester City Lines over the last few months. And the downside of that is we do have a lot of respect for those drivers that are there. So maybe those drivers as an organization need to ask themselves whether they want to go into this bidding cycle as part of Rochester City Lines, or perhaps create their own employee-owned organization and maybe try to compete for the bid that way. it's very unfair to these drivers that they be put into a situation where the company that they're working for has become as reviled as City Lines has become. But we're going to see how it plays out. The process will be fair. The City Lines has done a great job for us, but I don't know what management was thinking, but this is just a black eye on them that's not going to go away anytime soon. After the meeting was particularly interesting as well, because it's interesting when you have the owner of a company, Dan Holter, being hush-hushed by the people around him and not wanting to say that stuff. Dan tried to put some blame on me, apparently, for having known about this for a long time, and I've met with City Lines a number of times, and what I tend to do is take the information back, give it to our transit operations folks, and find out what they say. And the problem is Dan keeps bringing up all this stuff like he owns the transit system and a bunch of other claims like this that every time we check it out, it just turns out to be 100% correct. In fact, I'm not sure if any of these ramblings that Dan Holter's put out there over the years, if anything actually turned out to be true. I don't know if he doesn't understand or if he's just wishing to live in a world that he doesn't live in, but at the end of the day, the city owns the buses, we own the bus shelters, and we're paying the bills, and it's our transit system. Dan owns Rochester City Lines, he owns that name, but that's about it. I mean, he doesn't own anything besides that, and he leases us some space at a very good rate for him on some bus storage, but that problem's been taken care of, and I might add it's being taken care of despite his nonstop lobbying to Congress and to not fund this project that we've been focused on for a long time. Fortunately, and thank you very much, Amy Klobuchar and Tim Walz and Al Franken for getting that done over the objections of Dan Holter and doing what was right for the taxpayers and not what was right for Dan Holter. So, a number of times we see these private industry guys talking about how bad government is and then making a pretty doggone nice living off of government. And, business is good, competition is good, and Dan Holter loved being a private business, but he didn't want any competition, and now competition is coming, and I look forward to that competition. But I am very disappointed in Holter for his behavior through this whole thing, and then, trying to blame others afterwards, and making claims about who knew what when and who said what, and having to have his own people hush him up and pull him away. And I know that I think that some of the reporters caught some of that stuff as well. So that should be interesting to see what they run with and what they don't. But I think it's a real disappointing day. At the end of the day, we basically took $140,000 away from the taxpayers and gave it to Dan Holter. So if you're not upset about that, maybe you should start the video over and watch it again. That's all I got to say on this issue for now.